Yeah, that's right. You're listening to KONR 106.1 FM right here on Out North Radio. This is a Reggae Soca Takeover here with me, DJ Militant, official Ad One. And of course, we have KillBill Sax officially in the building. And we're going to talk about stuff that he's been doing in town and a little bit about how we got involved in doing saxophone. And then we'll talk a little bit about, we're gonna get too personal, but we'll talk a little bit about, what gets him, what really inspires him as far as what he likes doing and stuff like that. So, Bill.
What's up? Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, man. I appreciate for coming in, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, I take this 15, 20 minutes out of my show to highlight artists and stuff like that, and locally artists and stuff like that in town.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. No problem, man.
Yeah.
And Bill Hauser.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
But KillBill, because I was reading and I noticed that it was that you got a name on the road when you was. Tell a little bit about that. Your name, like how do you get KillBill?
Oh, the stage name.
The stage name, yeah. But
all right, so I was living in New York City for like 13 years. Up until about 3 years ago, I moved back here. And so I was doing a lot of sitting in at different spots, and there was this R&B club that I really loved to sit in at. It was called Club Groove, over on the corner of West 3rd and I want to say MacDougal or Minetta. MacDougal, excuse me. It's in the Village. And Antoine Robinson is the guy who gave me that name, kind of impromptu on stage. Every Friday and Sunday he was performing there. I think he still is, actually, on those same days. Yeah. He's kind of like the mayor of the R&B scene.
Right.
And I don't remember exactly how we met. Probably I just invited myself up like many, many years ago, and then we kind of lost touch, and then we reconnected again. And, like I was up on stage. I kind of like fought my way through the crowd. There was so many people there, and stuck the microphone and the bell on my saxophone. It was just like play like immediately. I didn't even know what the songs were or anything, so it was very simple, just sound good.
Right.
And so I think it was time for me to take a solo one day, and he's like, KillBill. And then from that point forward, everybody on that little scene started calling me KillBill. I'm like, cool, because when your name is Bill Hauser, it's just not a very sexy name for a saxophonist. Okay. So I got to work with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you got to work with it.
I mean, but it's like but it's taken you this far too, though. I mean, like you've been using it, and you got back to Anchorage.
Yeah.
And I mean, on the scene, R&B, jazz. You do weddings. You do a little bit of everything. Right?
I do whatever anybody will pay me to do that involves playing the saxophone, pretty much.
The first time I met you we was on the streets. You was on the streets. You was blowing your horn. It was over there off of 6th, and it was by
over by Humpy's. Yeah. I thought we met before that. We met inside Humpy's.
Inside Humpy's. It was inside Humpy's, but it was in that area.
Yeah, it was in that. But yeah, man, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good to meet you. And I mean, ever since I've been following you, and I mean, you got a website now too, right?
Yep, KillBillSax.com.
All right. And I mean, I went on there and I saw. I mean, you have different images, different things about what you do in town. So let's talk about your style. Because you got a little bit of R&B in there, you got a little bit of jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, the last track that you was hearing actually was called I Can't Breathe, and it was by Lisa Cinnamon.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was like first 30 seconds, and then boom, you was in there.
And I was playing the horn lines through the song too.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you get that?
Okay, so that story is that I'm really big. You mentioned the website. I'm really big onto online promotion, social media, and all that. Especially being up here in Alaska, and with technology being the way it is, I think you're kind of dumb if you don't really take advantage of it. Everybody can broadcast what they're doing now. So, I put my videos up on my Instagram account. That's really my main kind of way of putting myself out there. And then I just connected with this random person on Instagram who calls herself Black Orchid Music, and she's a female producer from Toronto.
Nice.
And so basically I just reached out to her. I was like, hey, I really like what you're doing. If you need sax, just let me know.
Yeah.
And so she reached out to me. She's like, yeah, I really could use you on this thing. Do you want to do it? I'm like, yeah, sure. So she sends me over that track that you just heard, and I just recorded it from home, and I sent the WAV files back to her, and that was that. She did her thing.
When was this released?
I think it was released probably within the last year.
Last
I
year,
think
so,
it was.
okay,
Yeah, I've never met Alicia Cinnamon.
Right.
And I've actually never met Black Orchid Music. Her name is actually Renee. And shout out to Renee. She's a really awesome female producer out of Toronto. Black Orchid Music. Look her up.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's that story.
And then what other? Because I know you have other things that you've done. You've done so much. I mean,
I'm trying, man. You got to.
But I mean, you know, because the more you get your face out there, right? I mean, the more because like you said, you did it on Instagram. Boom, you got that, and then you did something else. You know, Facebook. Now you got your website. So now there's more and more people like noticing what you're doing. You know, and so that's part of the reason too why I wanted to get you on the show, man. I was like, man, this has to be, you know, because it's a specific style to be a saxophonist. Somebody to have, you know, what they call them, chops.
Chops.
Chops. You know, you have to have some good chops, you know, and to be doing what you're doing and doing it as often as you're doing it. So, I mean, your style, where did you develop your style? I mean, you started at 3, right? I think it was?
No, I started playing when I was in, like, elementary school. I started learning here in Anchorage, and then, you know, just through the public school system, and then, you know, took some classes, and mostly just listened to a lot of records. You know, I took, like, what do they call them? Anyway, like a jazz master class or something like that, back up at UAF. And I think they're still doing them, but they used to fly these guys up from New York. And, man, these guys would, like, have these packets of information, you know, syllabi or whatever, and say, check out these albums, check out these licks. They started giving us a framework for what jazz was, you know, really about as far as from an improvisational standpoint.
Okay.
But as far as where I'm at now with things, I have really gotten away from playing traditional jazz. I just think that I really like that smooth R&B style, and I kind of picked that up when I lived in Atlanta. I ended up doing a tour with Universe Soul Circus back in 2002.
Was that? Yeah, that was touring on the boat, right?
No, that was actually that's a different tour.
Okay,
I did that one last year, but that was actually a traveling circus. I was only 24 when I got in.
Wow.
And so a lot of those guys were all older than me, so I had a really great opportunity to learn from them. As well as in the clubs in Atlanta. You know, every city's kind of got its thing, and so that style I just kind of think was something that I was able to kind of adopt rather easily, simply because I love it. Yeah. And just being very melodic with your playing, trying to sound like a singer, that's really kind of the direction I have tried to go. Got you.
So then, the thing I'm thinking about, so because most of the times you play over tracks, and then you play like the melodic portion of it. So I mean, that's really essentially the style.
It's saxophone karaoke, man. That's what it is. I'm just playing the lead vocal parts on a lot of these songs instead of being an auxiliary. I was like, I need to be a lead, not out of ego, but simply out of how am I going to make money? Because as a horn player. You know, a lot of us, we're just used to there's no money for us, nobody wants to hire us, there's just no budget. So in order to flip the script out of necessity, I was like, all right, I'm going to have to play lead on this and just roll with it.
And so what got you into doing it on the street? Because during the winter, it didn't matter when.
Okay,
you was out there doing it. And so tell me a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about that.
So when I landed in Anchorage on June 29th of 2015, back here in my hometown, I started making calls to musicians I knew here, and I was like, hey, I'm in town. But, you know, everyone's like, oh, yeah, you sound great, man, but, you know, we don't have any gigs for you. There's just no money. Because, again, horns are auxiliary. So one of the guys I spoke with said, hey, I know this guy Nelson Felix. Shout out to Nelson Felix. He's up in Fairbanks now, but before he moved back to Fairbanks, he was doing that on the streets. And Nelson was really the guy I straight up just copped his whole setup, more or less, for the street saxophone thing. Because I'm coming with a New York mentality. I was like, well, if he's doing it, there's definitely there's more space for more than just one person here. And so I really did it out of necessity to kind of help just get some cash flow moving in, and it was a really great way to work on my chops and announce, you know, my presence to the city. So that's that story.
Okay. Right on. So
that's how that happened.
Whole lot of stories. So tell the people about where they can, like you said about your website, like social media and stuff. Let people know about where they can book you, and you know.
Well, you can book me if you see me on the street. Anchorage is pretty small. If you see me on the sidewalk and you're like, hey, you're the saxophone guy, because it's just that small here. I'm like, yeah, I'm the saxophone guy. I'm not really the saxophone guy, but sometimes people say that to me, and I'm like, cool. And then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, are you going to hire me? So that's the first way. If you see me in the street, you know, if I'm pumping gas at the gas station, you can do that. But otherwise, you can email me, bill@killbillsax.com, or you go on my website, KillBillSax.com, and my whole social media handle is KillBill Sax.
Yeah, so there you have it. There you have it. So we're gonna get you to do
Little acapella action.
Acapella action.
Yeah.
And we're gonna come back in a few seconds here, and then we're gonna have you get ready, and then we're gonna go ahead and play. What track is it that we're gonna do? I think what did we say?
Was it one of the tracks I sent you?
Yeah, out of my element. Right?
Oh, you want me to give a quick blurb on that?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so Steve Pender, I also have never met in person.
Okay.
He's a friend of a friend, and I won't go into that whole story.
Okay. No.
But basically, I was recommended, and Steve Pender was so generous in giving me all kinds of leeway. So when you hear this song, I asked Steve, like, what do you want me to play on this? And he goes, just play whatever you think is going to work.
Okay.
So that's that.
Yeah. All right. So pretty much you had some creativity involved in it, on your own creativity in it.
I mean, to have that kind of leeway,
Yeah.
you know.
You don't happen too often, right?
I mean, especially Steve was so great to work with. So his name is Steven Pender, Pender. He's based out of Maryland, and this is the title track off his album, Out of My Element. This song is so killer.
Yeah, man.
That's the jam.
I like that one so bad, man. I love all the different things got going on, the drums, it just it's like up and down, up and down. And I love the way that it goes in and out.
Steve Pender's a genius, man.
Yeah.
I'm convinced. So I wanted to give a quick shout out to the personnel on that. So that's Steve Pender on keys, and
Yeah.
he wrote the song, obviously, piano and keys. On bass was Marculus Witherspoon, and drums was Myron Henderson.
Nice, man. And those guys are out of where?
I don't know where those guys are from,
okay.
to tell you the truth. I know Steve's from Maryland.
Okay, man. Okay.
But I think that what Steve had told me is that every musician on this project came from different musical backgrounds and places all across the nation.
Nice.
And of course, I'm probably from the furthest place
yeah.
away.
I was gonna ask. As far as locally, as far as next projects coming up, like where can people catch you at?
Well, as far as local gigs are concerned, I'm at Sullivan's Steakhouse every Wednesday from 6 to 9. And then it kind of varies from that point. Next week, for instance, on Thursday, I'll be at Tequila 61.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm available for private events. I've got some corporate events, some weddings, etc.
Okay.
And I'm trying to just keep expanding. But I am working on my album. It's just, behind the scenes, and don't want to get too deep into it because I'm just starting on it, basically.
I got you. Okay.
But yeah.
So an album or something soon coming.
No, it's not coming soon at all. But good things take time.
No, you're right. You want to nurture it.
I'm not saying I'm going to do like the D'Angelo 15 years wait, and it's not going to be that good probably because nobody. but I'm going to take my time with it and get it right. So.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
You want to blow some chops? Blow something here?
Oh yeah, so I'm going to play a little saxophone for you guys now, just a little acapella thing. I always want to say a la carte. Give you some a la carte
A la carte,
saxophone
yeah,
here.
I like that.
I don't even know what I'm going to play. Let's see here.
There you have it. Just a little taste. You want more? You gotta get out. Book him.
Yeah. No, I know I've been pretty shameless in this whole time. Book me. But honestly, life of a musician or any entrepreneur for that matter, you can't be shy about.
Yeah.
You gotta put yourself out there whether you want to or not.
Yeah.
So.
Or else you won't have anything, right?
So you're actually helping my cause greatly by just having me on the show. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. And that's what I feel is my calling. That's why I finally decided to get back on radio and do this.
And you're good at it.
Yeah. So appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that being said, one last time, if you see him on the street, you can book him then. Other than that, you can also get his social media, KillBill Sax, and then also what's the email address again?
Bill at KillBillSax.com.
Okay, you heard that. All right, you heard that right there.
Yeah.
So till next time, we're gonna actually have every week we do. Well, first of all, I want to say once again thank you for coming on the show.
No, thank you.
Yeah, and definitely when you have other things, we're definitely gonna let people know and share it and everything like that. And just don't forget it's First Friday, so if you guys haven't gotten out, make sure you get out, check the things seen out in Anchorage. There's a whole lot going on. Anyway, and with that being said, you're listening to KONR 106.1 FM Out North Radio, and we're gonna take it back. The Reggae Soca Takeover. Thank you again.